Oh, yes. The school strike for climate Ototahi, Cora Scott, Rata Yeri, and Dev Pandya. Thank you very much for being here. Before you start, can I ask you a question that I asked someone else? Have you or representatives of your organisation made submissions on a plan before? I know you've been in front of council before, but have you been to one of our plans? Or is this the first time? First long-term plan? Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay. Kia ora, and thank you for taking the time to hear us. Our names are Cora, Dev, and Rata from School Strike for Climate, a group of young people who are passionate about taking action against climate change. We are grateful for this opportunity to highlight the changes in your strategy that we believe are necessary to combat climate change. We would like to mention that we feel that this plan is a positive first step on our journey to a sustainable Christchurch. However, a stronger stance must be taken. Firstly, we ask that the Council make our emission reduction targets more ambitious. Our current goals do not properly tackle methane, despite being a significant contributor to our overall emissions. A response like the one suggested by the IPCC's special report on 1.5 degrees should be a bare minimum. Really, as a wealthy country, we have the responsibility to do more. However, our current goals don't even meet this minimal requirement. At the very least, we ask that Christchurch City Council adapt a target consistent with 1.5 degrees, a 1.5 degree world, by including methane in total emissions reductions target, and ensure that Christchurch's contribution should reflect our wealth and privilege. We also expect to see a more comprehensive action plan which is well explained and easily accessible to the general public. We continue to encourage the development of alternative transport infrastructure, including the expansion of bike lanes, which are essential for students like us who rely on active and public transport to get around. We've discussed this point before, so we'll keep it short. However, this is an instrumental part of our submission. Not only will this lower public transport emissions, but it will become a flagship climate change project for Christchurch.
The need for support for not only an economic but social and cultural transition as people are forced to adapt and change due to the impacts of climate change must be addressed. Under projections about the impacts of climate change by 2100, big business will not be the only ones needing support, but rather communities who are heavily impacted by climate change. In particular, lower income communities will not be as resilient, which must be acknowledged when considering where we direct funds. This climate crisis requires the proper allocation of the council's resources to the communities who need it. Not only this, we must ensure the preservation of the fertility of our soil. The Ministry for the Environment, in their 2018 report, Our Land, highlighted the reduction of fertile soil throughout Canterbury. The many causes for this are agricultural practices, impacts enhanced by climate change, and urban expansion. Our land has significant value to who we are, and as young people, we hope to inherit the same fertile and healthy soils as you did. Therefore, we demand the Council impose measures to take into account the fertility of surrounding soil when approving the expansion of the city. Through this, may we protect our fertile soil, and therefore our life and purpose. Ko Aote Whenua, ko whenua o te ao. I am the land is me. J.E. Townsend.
We would also like to talk about accessing the submission process. We found that writing a submission required a lot of time and energy, making it harder for members of the community who work or attend school full-time to access it. This was partly due to the use of complex terminology and ideas that required research or background knowledge to understand. Using more basic language and simplifying the document itself would go some way to solving these problems. Adding more structure to the document would also help. Being asked to make a general comment on that huge document was intimidating, and I have friends who looked at that and decided it was too complex and difficult. To engage more youth in this process, the council could also provide teachers with information on how to make a submission and go to give to their students and visit more schools to work through the submission process. We do support your plan to collaborate with community groups, but remind you that a part of this must include highlighting youth voices and creating safe and accessible spaces for youth to share their ideas. We recommend that the council work with schools to set up student-orientated groups that provide a space in which youth are empowered to take action. We also ask that you further involve youth by providing students with more education and clarity on both the science and the council's proposals surrounding climate change. Young people are the key stakeholders, the ones who will inherit our city, our country, and our planet. We cannot be ignored. Thank you.
I'll just, Anne,
Thank you, and absolutely agree with you. We've got to give opportunities for young people to have their voice, and I'm just wondering if you know about Te Pai Pakari, which is the Youth Standing Committee that has been established here at Council for exactly that. And also, do you have contact with the Youth Council in Pilot? Because they're also advocating for young people, and they would be good people to join with. So it's probably more of a comment than a question. Yeah.
We weren't aware of the first organisation, or I personally wasn't. I'm not sure about other members of our group. However, we have been to events hosted by the Youth Council and Pilot and have made use of some of their spaces before, and we definitely think that they would be great groups to associate ourselves with.
Excellent, because they're represented on Te Pai Pakari and would be a good voice for you, a good channel for you. Cool, thank you.
Yeah, I think what was it? The one school. No, sorry, what was the other group that came today? Sorry, One Schools Network. Yeah,
They
Silas.
also-
So I just think, because it did occur to me that, and through some of the discussions that we've had, is that it is very difficult to connect in with school students, even though they have the most obvious entry point, and that they all gather together in the same place, every day of the school year. So I think that, Anne is right. Te Pai Pakari was set up for having a direct, voice through into the council, but we need to face it outwards as well, and it needs to engage directly, because I think young people talking with young people is going to be far more beneficial than, well, face it. But you see what I mean, that it's actually broadening the network through the standing committee that might be a way of bringing issues forward and also simplifying the process. You've made a really powerful presentation on how challenging submission processes can be when you want it to be as open and engaging as possible. And then when you hear the youngest group that come and submit, no, actually, you're not the youngest group that come and submit. The Whanganui Pool group, I think, won by a country mile. But essentially, the challenge that you've put to us is the one group that knows how to use the technology still found it difficult to traverse. So you've opened up a good challenge to us. So thank you very much for your submission today. Thank you.
Good time.
So